Last September, Megadeth released their brand new record, The Sick, the Dying, and the Dead, with a strong debut on the charts at number 3, and the band continues to tour in support of this record. In fact, they have a big live stream coming up you can tune into from Japan. And as we've previously discussed, there are some big rumors that Marty Friedman may be appearing on stage with the band for the first time in many years, which would be a massive deal. That's all going to be live streamed again. You can check that out up on your screen. The band is unfortunately facing a new lawsuit from the designer of their album art, who says they never reached an agreement on payment and compensation before this album was released. Now, of course, there are two sides to every story, but we're going to look at this according to the Hollywood Reporter, who has published information about this lawsuit. So from this story published by the Hollywood Reporter, which I've linked to in the description, it says the cover of heavy metal band Megadeth's latest album, The Sick, the Dying, and the Dead, has drawn a lawsuit from an artist who says he hasn't received pay or credit for his work. New York-based illustrator and designer Brent Elliott White says he has, quote, created artwork and characters over time for Megadeth that have become an integral part of the band's identity, and was contacted about this album in early 2020. They didn't sign a written contract at the time, according to the complaint, and the concept phase involved multiple revisions and edits and hundreds of hours of work. By April 2021, the band had chosen a concept for the cover of The Sick, the Dying, and the Dead, and asked White to create art for an EP release. More than a year later, in June 2022, White says the band's manager, Bob Johnson, asked him for additional renderings of the artwork for the stage decorations for an upcoming tour. That's when White sent a text to Johnson noting that he didn't have a contract and hadn't been paid, saying, I know an album release time is hectic, but I have to mention that any send-off, including album art, is contingent on compensation and contract, so we're going to have to sort that out soon. According to the complaint, which is embedded below, Johnson's response was that no one intended to not have this prepared by now, and he would bring it up the right way. The next day, the first single dropped, and White says the art was featured in Rolling Stone, but he wasn't credited, so the artist contacted Universal Music Group, explained the situation, and said without an agreement to transfer rights, he was still the owner of the copyright. When the album was released in September 2022, they still hadn't agreed on a price. White says the album is a hit. YouTube videos showing the work have been viewed millions of times, and vendors are charging $100 to $600 for merchandise featuring his art because defendants license the work to third parties without permission. He's suing Megadeth, UMG, and others for copyright infringement and is asserting multiple claims under New York's Freelance Isn't Free Act, which requires a written contract for work valued at $800 or more, sets standards for the timing of payment, and prohibits other behavior like dropping pay rates and retaliation. White is asking the court for an injunction that would stop Megadeth and UMG from using the artwork and is seeking damages and disgorgement of profits. UMG and a representative for the band have not yet responded for request for comment. Typically with these sorts of things, there are two sides to every story. I'm sure Megadeth has their own version and sequence of events. Nonetheless, I'm pretty confident that this is going to be able to be resolved in one way or another. Again, Megadeth has those live stream shows coming up from Japan. Sounds like something you don't want to miss. This could be a very, very big night for the band, based on some rumors that are going around about the great Marty Friedman, who is based out of Japan and has lived there for many years, possibly performing with the mighty Megadeth, which would be absolutely incredible to see. That's your latest update from Rockfeed. Be sure to subscribe with notifications on so you don't miss the latest news and updates about your favorite bands, and check out the recommended video up on your screen.